What's good, brothers and sisters? Welcome back to Matchnet Podcast in Cheonpyeong, Korea right now for the Blue Dragon pilgrimage that's happening. We have 420 folks from America all over the United States. And I'm here to give some talks, presentations on how to prepare for the blessing. Yeah, pretty much it. And today we had the privilege of having Yeonanim come. Yeonanim, who is the wife of Hyojinim. She came to give us a short talk, all right? And I want to share a perspective that she gave on public mission, what is considered a public mission from True Mother's standard, from True Mother's standpoint. This is a woman, Yeonanim, that spends day in and day out with True Mother. She started the presentation talking about Mother's preferences for food and drinks, things that she likes. So if you're interested in that, I will give that to you now. And then I will tell you what True Mother's standard is for what is considered a public mission. And it's not what you think. All right. True Mother likes, in my notes, she likes black coffee. She drinks her coffee black. And she also said True Father liked milk and sugar with his coffee. Cool, right? And if it's the afternoon, she'll usually drink a chamomile tea. All right? Mother likes to drink green tea. She likes Coca-Cola. There you go. She likes pizza. She likes pasta. She likes meat. Yeonanim said. Your mother likes to eat beef and salmon. It's her meat of choice. Beef and salmon. Mother also likes omelets in the morning, especially when they were living in America. Your parents would go to IHOP quite often to eat omelets. That was their omelet place of choice, IHOP. So, with that said, some of you will find that very interesting, I hope. And then she started asking the audience. Yeonanim asked us, what do you think True Mother's standard is for what a public mission is considered? All right, now answer that for us right now. Speak it out into the world. What do you think True Mother's standard of what a public mission is? It's not what you think. So she asked people stood up to give their answer what they thought. Yeonanim's interesting because she will ask the audience and get them to stand up and answer what they believe, right? And she listens as she does. And she concluded that Mother's standard is that whatever you do, it is done with God first. This is what True Mother said. She gave the example. When you wake up in the morning, the first thing you do is think to God and ask, how did you sleep? God, Heavenly Parent. When you eat, before you eat, she said, ask God to enjoy it with you, right? Think of God first. And she specifically talked about public mission versus, I think the term she used is something along the lines of outside work or like private work or like working in the workforce, having a career that's not at a church, mission job. She specifically talked about church mission work, being a pastor, working for a church organization, etc., and working in a corporate environment or being self-employed or whatever. And she asked, what is the standard of True Mother? And she said, no matter what you do, if you do it with God first, it is considered a public mission. This is mind-blowing, guys. This is not someone's ideology. This is not my thought. This is coming from True Mother, the Mother. So if you're thinking, is your life, what should you do with your private work, public work? If you feel any sense of guilt or shame because you're maybe not, quote unquote, devoted to public work, Yeonanim said, it doesn't matter. As long as you're doing it with God first, you can offer it as public work. I think this is incredibly liberating, especially for people that are, young and trying to figure out their career, that are trying to figure out life, they're trying to figure out what to do with their time, how to devote themselves to God, because that's the heart that's underneath the desire to work a public mission. Under that desire is the desire to do what is right for God, right? And from Mother herself is saying, if you do whatever you do with God, it can be done for God and for the providence as public work. True Father said this. If you read the autobiography, it's one of the last chapters. It's actually a very inspiring chapter. He said that if you're going to be a professional soccer player, for example, You will do so for God, and you will do it, and you will make it some kind of mission to help people. Use your abilities for the public. And so we can liberate ourselves from this feeling of like, oh, my life, career, and path has to look a certain way. Do you think we need Uber drivers in Cheon Il Guk? Maybe, probably. Do you think we need trash pickuppers? Sure. Do we need engineers? Yes. Do we need sports athletes? Sure, why not? And so I'm making this video with the heart of talking almost daily, all the time, with people that are trying to figure out their life path, their career, and feeling immense amounts of anxiety and stress about the future and how do I align what I want to do with public mission and with God, right? And it really just starts as simply as when you wake up in the morning, as Mother said, you just think about God. When you eat, think about God. When you do your work, think about God. Every single thing can be devoted to that. And she used the example of even whatever type of work you do, you could, for example, turn it into a way to witness to people, right? If you're an entrepreneur or you're a doctor or whatever. And so my point is that you don't have to pigeonhole or box in your life to feel like you have to go a certain route in order to make your life for God and for true parents or the movement even. We need all of it, okay? And I think that's a beautiful message. It's beautiful, it's liberating. It is actually more aligned with how Cheon Il Guk is meant to be. And that's the direction we're going. Mother wants to build Cheon Il Guk, okay? And I was asking this while I was talking with the couples here that got blessed. I was giving a presentation. And my presentation title was How to Build Cheon Il Guk in Your Blessing, in your own couple, in your family, how to build Cheon Il Guk. And so I asked the question, what is Mother's version of Cheon Il Guk, first of all? What does your mother envision as Cheon Il Guk? And we can extrapolate what her vision is based on what she cares about, what she talks about. If you listen to her words, my friend, what does your mother's heart call towards, right? Well, number one, what does she keep saying over and over? That's a pretty good hint, don't you think? When I hear her speak, the most emotional she ever gets is when she talks about God. When she talks about Heavenly Parent. She talks about Heavenly Parent's heart. She talks about history. She gets emotional. She pauses and she gets emotional, right? And so Mother's version of Cheon Il Guk is that Heavenly Parent feels liberated. Heavenly Parent feels at peace with the world. That's what Mother cares about. That's Cheon Il Guk. Heavenly Parent feels at peace. That was True Father's vision as well, right? Heavenly Parent is liberated. Sorrow is liberated. Heart is healed. True Mother also cares deeply about this idea of the world recognizing and understanding true parents. Only begotten daughter, right? In a world where true parents are recognized. It's really important to Mother. So there's something there. There's a hint there about what kind of vision True Mother has for Cheon Il Guk. And so if we listen to the words of Mother, what is she talking about over and over? And we turn that into, that's the vision of Cheon Il Guk, and how do we create that in our lives? What do you guys do with your career, with your life? It can be as simple as you drive Uber and you do that with God. I'm not kidding. How is that any less valuable than the work that leaders and presidents of organizations and companies in our church do? How's that any different? I don't know. Let me know, right? So please do everything you do with God. I think it's a beautiful message that True Mother wants us to experience. I think it's the way that true parents have both lived their entire lives, is with God first. You can see it when Mother talks about Heavenly Parent. You can see it when she talks about God, how much she loves God, right? And if you don't feel connected with that, I think the fastest way to understand true parents and Father and Mother's heart is to understand God's heart, right? Because then you can start to see why these people, these two gallon guy, have devoted so much of their life to this. You can see, you can understand, you can share that common base with them. It's like, I love God, true parents love God. My parents love God. It's a shared vision. It's a shared common base. So it really starts with that. Understanding Heavenly Parent. Understanding who Heavenly Parent is to you and relating to God in a deep way. How does that happen? I made a video about that. In fact, in one of the previous episodes, right here on the podcast. How do you actually experience God real time in your life? It's not hypothetical. Go watch that video. Listen to that episode. It's not hypothetical. It's step by step. It's substantial. You can actually do it. It's not as complicated as you think, right? Well, lots of love to you guys from me to you here in Cheonpyeong. Lots of experiences here. Think about all of you a lot. There's 400 something young people. Most of them I know for some reason from life, going to workshops, giving talks for the last decade or so, mentoring a lot of them, matching, supporting, helping them in high noon with sexual integrity, all kinds of stuff. And it's so interesting to be in the lives of these people. And I'm realizing that there is such an emphasis and desire people have to get blessed next year, right? As we're recording this, there's a blessing happening next year, 2025. We just had a blessing here a few days ago, 2024. And there's such a strong desire for people to get blessed next year, right? And so I gave my entire presentation for an hour and something on the title of the talk was this: how to get blessed next year. With God and without fear. I just realized now that that rhymes. How to get blessed next year with God and without fear. That was the title of my talk because I wanted to address this big elephant in the room that nobody talks about. It's a giant shadow, which is that everyone has a vision, desire, I want to do it, but there's something that's holding people back. And I asked the audience this: if mother came in here right now, it's your mother, which is quite likely, we're here in Cheonpyeong, she's just a few miles over there. If mother came in here right now and said, hey, I'll do a matching ceremony right now, but you have to say yes, would you do it? Would you do it? Why would you and why would you not do it? It's an important mental exercise that I think is important to go through. So I challenged everyone. I said, guys, there's a blessing happening next year. Why not get blessed next year? Why not? And so I asked the audience this sincerely. I said, why not? Right? One person raised their hand, and said, well, I'm too young. And I said, well, how old are you? Sincerely, not condescendingly. How old are you? She's like, I'm 21. And I said, okay, I was 18 when I was blessed. And the audience goes, oh my gosh, it's so young. Here's the thing though. When I got blessed at 18 years old, I didn't think it was young. I, honest to God, didn't think 18 years was young. I didn't think about it. I just wanted to go, and I prioritized it, and I made it happen. I just went for it because it's what I wanted. And then someone today asked me, why did you want to get blessed at 18? I didn't think it was young. I just wanted it. I knew I wanted it. And I knew it was going to come with challenges, as I've talked about, but I just went for it. There's something in me that's like, I want it, and I'm not going to be fearful. I'm not going to be a coward. I'm just going to go for it, right? And so I asked the audience again, okay, what else? Why not get blessed next year? Another sister raised her hand, said, well, I need more stability in my life. And I was like, okay, interesting. What kind of stability? She said, financial stability. And I was like, okay, how much money do you need? And I was like, okay, you don't have to answer that, but you understand where I'm going with this, right? My job here is to help substantiate this desire people have to receive the blessing and make it real, to break down the fear and the boundaries and the limiting beliefs people have about why it's not possible. So I shared my whole story, right? It's like, blessed at 18, I just went for it. My son was born, our first son was born when I was 22 years old, right? I'm not here to brag. I'm like really sheepish about talking about my story here, but I didn't think that was young. I honestly didn't think 22 was young to have a child. And now I think back, I'm like, yeah, 18 is actually really young. And 22 is pretty young to have a child. But I didn't think that. Why? Because this is what I wanted. It was clear. We were blessed for 4 years, my wife and I. And at a certain point, you're like, what's the point of the blessing? This is how I felt. I was like, what's the point of the blessing if we're not having kids? That was just a natural next step for us. It's like, what's the point if we're not going to have children? So that's what happened. Yeah. I'm going to tell you a story, a secret about when we started a family that I've never shared publicly. We didn't start having sex until 4 years after our blessing. Yeah. Which is not recommended, kind of wild to think about. But that was a decision we both made because we wanted to, well, it's interesting. And it's not like we were sitting and living in different countries. We're living together for a lot of that time. And we decided to wait until we were ready to have children before we started our sexual relationship, because we wanted to have a stable place to live and to raise a family before we started our sexual relationship. That's just us. It's not a judgment on people that don't do it. It's just how we decided to do it. And I'm saying this because there was something in me at 18 when I was like, I want this and nothing's going to stop me. I was 22. I want children. It's what we want. Nothing's going to stop us. And I was sharing my story because I wanted to break down beliefs about what's possible. Do you think that I was ready at 18 to be in a relationship? No. Do you think I had a stable income? No. Actually, if you read my matching application, it's pretty funny. In the matching application, it asks, what is your occupation? Undecided. What is your university degree? Undecided. What is your education? Undecided. And if you look at that, it's like externally, the most unqualified, unready, not ready person. But to me, it was like, I don't care about being ready. I know I'm willing. And I knew I was ready when I was willing. Willing to do what? I was willing to learn. I was learning to grow. I was learning how to love. And I was willing to learn that no matter what. No matter what. And I say this to people and they're like, oh, but what if this happens? What if that? No, I've seen it all. I've seen the most egregious things, gratuitous things you could see in a marriage, right? Affairs, addiction, abuse, everything. Inside blessings, yes. And sometimes people don't make it, but the people that do make it through that, they were willing to learn how to love and grow no matter what. And the result, if you put those people together in a blessing, is they will grow beyond measure, beyond anything that they ever had before. And they will have more love and affection and intimacy in their relationship than they ever did before, even though they go through such difficult things. And so I can say with confidence, there's nothing that you can't bounce back from. There's nothing that cannot be redeemed. All right? Nothing. So if you commit to the blessing, you commit to it working out. You commit to learning how to love no matter what. Both parties. It requires two. It requires two people to have that commitment. That's it. And then someone asked me this morning here in Champion, what would you say is the most important thing to have ready before the blessing, right? I was like, good question. I thought about it for half a second. I was like, if you have the ability, the willingness to learn how to love unconditionally, and your spouse does, that's it. That is it. Why is that important? Because that's the fabric of the universe, guys. We're talking about love like it's some elementary school character education trait. Respect, love, honesty, don't lie. No, love is the fabric of the universe. Unconditional love specifically. Unconditional regard and acceptance. That is what God is. Period. End of story. Full stop. And that is all that is required to make a successful relationship. Of course, there are things that are helpful, right? But to what extent are you going to let things block you from getting where you want? So if you have a desire to get blessed next year, and ask yourself, why not? Go through that mental process of asking yourself, why not get blessed next year? And the conclusion you come to will be very revealing, very interesting. Because then you'll be able to identify the roadblocks and attack those, right? List them out on a piece of paper. Why not get blessed next year? And ask yourself honestly, is this a limiting belief? Is it a fear? And if it's a genuine reason, then attack it, tackle it, resolve it, figure it out. All right? Figure it out. But don't let fear stifle you and keep you stagnant and stuck from moving towards where you want to go. And so I asked this to the audience. I said, there's a word for if you want something, but you don't go towards it because of fear. There's a word for this. You want to fight for your country, for example, but you don't because you're scared. What's the word we're talking about? It's not a pleasant word. Nobody likes this word. It's called cowardice. Cowardice. Fear is normal. I think fear is acceptable. I think people will always feel fear. I think children feel fear. Even animals feel fear, right? I think if we didn't feel fear, we would die pretty early on. I don't think I would have made it past childhood or infancy even if I didn't experience a little fear. It's a good thing. But if you let fear hinder you because you're afraid, especially if there's somewhere you want to go and something you want to accomplish, something you want to fight for, It's called cowardice. So do you want to be courageous, or do you want to be a coward in the face of the blessing? Matching. Okay? That's it. That's all I'm asking. I'll say for the record, guys, I'm not saying you should or shouldn't get blessed next year. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying you should or shouldn't do anything. I'm not the guy that's going to do that. I'm not the guy that's going to say, hey, you're already 22 years old. You need to get blessed. What are you doing? That's not me. I promise you that's not me. All I'm saying is I want you to go through the exercise of asking yourself, why not next year? Why not? And if you have a genuine reason, then address it. If you have a shadow in your life, shed light on it. If you have an addiction, if you watch porn, masturbate, and you don't like it because it doesn't agree with your values, get rid of it. Address it. Join High Noon. Okay? Shed light on it. If you have unwanted behaviors or thought patterns or negativity or whatever it is, address it. If you have a relationship that needs mending with your parents, whoever, address it. If you need to understand God because you're confused about your faith, don't know about your parents' blessing, come to Champion. Do something. Address it. But you do not sit on your hands and say you can't. Okay? You do not do that. Because that is what a coward does, and you are not a coward. You are not. You're a good man. You're a good woman with a good heart. You are. You really, really are. If you're watching me rant in this tiny office here in Champion about how much of a coward you are and you're still here with me, it means you're a good person. Okay? You really are. And God is with you. And so all you have to do is move forward. Take a step. Take a step forward. Do that thing that you know you don't want to do, but you know you need to do. Have that conversation that you know you need to, but you don't want to do because it's scary. Just do it. Have the courage, and God will work through that. God will work through that. All right? There's 420 young folks here from all over America. I've had so many conversations with them. They're so determined. They want to do it. They love God. They love your parents. But there's so many shadows that are holding them back. I can see it in their eyes. I can see it when I talk to them. Feelings of shame, feelings of I can't. I don't know what it is. For some reason, when I was young, I just have this ability to just say yes and stand up and do something if I'm scared. I have the ability to just notice when I'm feeling afraid, and I just go for it. I was asked to speak here at the workshop, and I was like, yeah, of course. And then on the way, right before, a few people were asking me like, are you nervous? Someone was like, you must be really nervous. I would be really nervous if I was talking to all these people about, matching and blessing preparation, sexual integrity, all that stuff. And I thought about it and I was like, no, not at all. Not at all. Like, my heart didn't even beat for a second out of nervousness to come on stage. Even right before, I was checking my heart rate. I was like, even for a second I wasn't nervous. Now, why is that? Is it a brag? Sure. Maybe I'm being boastful. I don't know. Let me know. But I'm saying this because I care so much about these people that I would leave my family at home for a week because it's worth it. I didn't have to come. I wanted to come. I decided to come. I asked to come. Because it's worth it. Because I know that my story, my sharing can change people's lives. Because there's something in me that's able to face fear and just move forward fearlessly, right? And so when I was talking with these young people on stage, I was like, when you guys hear about the blessing next year, a few of you will say, yes, that's me. I'm going. I will make it happen. A few of you will go through the mental exercise and the process of figuring out what's stopping you, and you'll, struggle with it. A few of you will just say you want to do it and won't actually do anything about it. But I'm here for you guys that are ready to stand up and face your fears and do something about it, Whatever belief you have about why you can't, address it. Ask yourself, is this true? And what can you do about it, right? Is it true? Imagine I'm talking with you in a conversation and you say something like, oh, I need to be financially stable. And then I'll ask you, okay, what does that mean? How much money do you need? Oh, I need X amount. Why? For what? All because that's what they say. Who says that? You see where I'm getting, right? I feel like this is what I'm here to do, is to help people to substantiate this desire people have to move forward, to build Cheon Il Guk, I feel like I'm living a high noon life right now. Like, no shadows. I have no shadows. My wife, tell everything to her. I tell you guys everything. about my life. No shadows in my life. Tell my kids everything. It's a beautiful feeling. And I know you can do it too. That's why I'm talking about it. All right? Okay, we're going to go back to the hall now. Don't forget what your mother said about public mission versus private mission or working outside. Just pick one. Just do something. Do with God. And God will support it. It's considered public, right? Don't forget she likes black tea, green tea, chamomile tea, Coke, pizza, pasta, beef, salmon, and IHOP omelets. Okay, lots of love to you guys. There you go.